Hello, everyone. Welcome to February 12th, the Saturday Call of Duty slate. The last one of the week, we actually only have a 2-gamer on Sunday. And I believe we normally don't get DFS slates for 2-gamers in Call of Duty. There's just not a lot to build off of, really. So yeah, only 2 days of Call of Duty this week. It kind of sucks because I think this is one of the more intriguing esports for DFS. Maybe it's not for everyone, but it's one of my favorites to watch and kind of get a sweat on with. So some interesting games, a little more than yesterday. I believe yesterday we had Boston win, Seattle win, Toronto win, LA Thieves win. So we had all 4 of the favorites win. That is what I had predicted, but it's still unexciting, even if you do predict it. My lineups didn't end up doing too great. I don't know. So the thing was with even though all the favorites won, I'll pull up the scoreboards here. So Boston didn't score well. I guess they did okay. TJ Halley was pretty good. He was somebody I did like, but I never got to. Methods did okay. Standy was the highest one from this game. Then over in here, Gunless outperformed it. Toronto won 3-0, and I believe they went they had a team KD of -9. Wait, that doesn't even add up. So wait, this math doesn't add up here. Am I crazy? Because oh no, never mind. I'm stupid. Well, never mind. I'm stupid. So yeah, Toronto, although they won 3-0. They had 2 players barely positive. It's not great. I believe Cammy still scored really well, but it was a one-off, and he was the one I didn't play. And then in the 4th game, LA Thieves actually did pretty well, specifically Kenny, but pretty much all 4 players were good. I was super high on LA Thieves, and I feel like it's just going to continue to be the fact of where you just have to play people against New York. New York are one of the worst teams in the league, and 2, they just get outslayed so hard in the respawn games. The scores can be somewhat close. As you can see in this one, it's 200 to 250. This is a close score, and they had 1 positive player, and everyone else was very negative. Everyone on LA Thieves went positive, and it was a close game. The 4th game was a bit closer, but again, the 3rd game, everybody went positive. New York just continued to get outslayed pretty heavily here in these series. So stacking heavily against New York, I think, is definitely going to be the move for the foreseeable future. I don't believe there's much. There's many other cases like that, but I think specifically for that, that is it. I'm just going to kind of skip that recap because it was 4 favorites. Actually, we could talk briefly. Boston got the job done. Boston got the job done over Paris. Pretty good stuff from them. This is about what I expected. Nothing to say there. Seattle went to 5 with Minnesota, and it was a super close game. Minnesota actually definitely had the chance to win. They were actually in a favorable position on the 5th map. It came down to the last map, the last round, and it was a nice clutch from accuracy from Seattle, and won in the series. So this is a really impressive series from Minnesota. I think Minnesota is probably one of my favorite teams to be on right now, and this is going to be an interesting one to look at tomorrow. We'll talk about that then, though. Toronto 3-0 over LAG. Again, not a lot to talk about. Favor got the job done. They did get the sweep, which helped their scores, but again, their kill ratios were just so bad it was hindering them severely. Then LA Thieves over New York, again, kind of went as predicted. So as much as we did kind of predict everything, it was 4 favorites, and all the favorites won, all the chalk was there, so it's kind of tough to separate yourself. I think the overall theme of this Call of Duty slate here was that actually that losing teams players can actually get there if they play that fourth map. That was something we saw with Standy from Minnesota. Hydro didn't actually get there, but he's one of those types of players, and like Tempted with Paris as well. Like all those losing players scored well. I guess not in this example for Hydra, but you guys get my point. Like these losing team players can get there as one-offs. I think that's something maybe to keep in mind as we go forward and have those type of slates. This probably won't be the last slate like this, because I think we go back to we'll have Friday and Sunday will be 3 gamers. So it's much more likely that we have like 3 close series, or like 3 one-sided series, I mean. So I guess the point being, like, I don't think losing losing players are necessarily X'd out, maybe like how we once thought they would be. When you look at like CSGO and League of Legends, that's mostly the case as well. But I think there's actually a unique case here with Call of Duty, and more specifically the game that we're playing this year, Call of Duty Vanguard. I don't know, just individual players can slay so well just because of how quickly the people die in this game. So I think that's the main like separator for like what makes this game unique. That's kind of all my point is that I don't think we can look at that as a thing going forward and talk about that. So on to tomorrow. Tomorrow actually has some really interesting games, and for that I want to do a little bit more advanced of a breakdown style. I'm bringing in what I usually do, and what helps me a lot in League of Legends, and I'm going to kind of apply it here. I'm going to look at the games, look at the teams, and give you who I think is the favorite, and give you like my personal odds, how I would price these games, and then we can compare them to the Vegas odds and see where my opinions differ from Vegas odds. This is something I recommend like everyone do if you're at any experience level. Honestly, it just helps give you such a good solid base point of what you're thinking versus probably what the field is thinking, and it kind of thinks for you in that aspect. So the first series, London, Minnesota. This is actually going to be like low-key a super banger game. I think London looked really good. I keep closing this breaking point. We can see if standings load. This doesn't tell me what I need to know. COD Wiki. We go down to this schedule. So we saw London last week. We got them as an underdog in both series, and both series they won. They got the reverse sweep over Optic, and then I believe didn't Optic get reverse swept against Minnesota as well? They did. That's something to remember. But the point I was making was that London are 2-0. They got a win over Florida, who I think is bad, and Texas, who I think is kind of bad. But people were not expecting much from London, and they looked pretty high flying. Then we see Minnesota. They had the same exact thing pretty much. The only series they played last week was they reverse swept Optic, which is the same thing London did. And then they actually went to like literally 1 kill was the difference between winning or losing this series versus Seattle. And I think maybe that is kind of a blessing in disguise there, that maybe we can get a decent price here with Minnesota. We'll have to wait and see. I'm going to be kind of curious on how the odds are looking for this game, but I'm going to go with Minnesota minus 220. I've actually really liked them a lot. And although I do think these teams are pretty similarly skilled, so it seems a little tough to make this kind of bold of a prediction. And if you guys know me, like, check my bio on Twitter. Like, I'm literally a self-admitted London fan after last week. They won me so much money last week, these London players. And I'm still super high on London. I think this is just kind of something where you have to be objective. And I think objectively, Minnesota are kind of will probably be undervalued. And I mean, we'll see what the odds are, but I think Minnesota might establish themselves here with a solid win over London. So that's where I'm going to go here on this first series. The second series is the Paris, Texas one. This is a pretty interesting one as well. So Paris got the Game 5 loss to FaZe, which is a top 3 team. So that looked impressive. Then they lost to Florida. I mean, I'm super low on Florida. I legit think Florida's probably the second worst team in the league. They're probably just above New York if I'd had to power rank right now. And again, I don't know why this is sticking with me so much, but when the Paris Legion played the Atlanta FaZe, in the post-game interview, the FaZe player Celium said that he thinks Paris is underrated and Paris is actually a top 6 team. I don't know. I definitely should not be buying into that so much, but it kind of sticks with me, and it feels like maybe the perception of Paris is much different, like on the inside versus the outside. I mean, losing to Florida is pretty bad, I think. That's pretty egregious, if I'm honest. But they beat Boston, and they had a close series they lost to Boston, which isn't that bad. I think those two teams are around the same level. I don't know what to make of this series, honestly. This is a pretty tough one. Like, this is one where maybe I would buy into the Paris side a little bit. Like, they seem like a decent underdog play, but it just depends on the price and that kind of stuff. So, I'm definitely gonna have Optic Texas as the favorite. I'm gonna go with like minus 250. I expect the odds to be wider because Optic is the most popular team in the league, so maybe they're taking all the action. I think in esports, despite there being like a low amount of action, it still can be heavily swayed just due to percentages. Like if 80% of the money is coming in on Optic or something, then it might move the number even if it's a low overall amount of money. That's just kind of a guess. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't work in Vegas, but that's kind of what I gather, at least. For Atlanta, Boston, this is actually another pretty good series, I think. From the Atlanta side, they had that close series with Paris, but they got the job done. They beat LA Thieves, who I'm pretty high on. It's kind of just tough to tell where they're at. I mean, they looked pretty... Last year, they looked like the best team by a good margin, and that was kind of the expectations going in to this year. So maybe it's a little tough on them. Just like if they're not playing perfectly, it's going to be underperforming. So it's tough. But I don't know. They've just kind of let me down a little bit. Like they just looked not that great overall. So I'm not sure what to make of it. And then on the Boston side, they have a 3-2 over LAG. LAG is like an okay middle-ish team. They had 3-1 to Paris, who is like a lower-end team. You definitely just kind of have to go with the pedigree of the Atlanta side, but this one wouldn't necessarily surprise me either way, honestly. Like, if I saw a Boston 3-2, I wouldn't be surprised. If I saw a FaZe 3-0, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I'm definitely just gonna lean with the FaZe side, but there's just something about this series that says maybe this is a good spot for Boston. We'll have to. I'm going to compare my odds on this one and see what's happening, but I think this is like a similarly priced game. I'll go with FaZe 225, Boston plus 175. I don't know. I mean, my odds are pretty like uniform here, but I don't know. That's just kind of like what comes to mind when I think of that. LA Thieves, Florida. I mean, this is LA Thieves blowing them out. I think Florida is the worst team in the league. The skill I saw from them in that first series was just like downright disrespectful, honestly. I don't know. I just have seen like nothing from Florida that gives me any hope, really. I mean, they beat Paris, but I think maybe Paris was like kind of overvalued because of their close series with FaZe. So who knows? We look and can compare. London is the favorite over Minnesota. Now, I'm going to be honest, I did kind of anticipate this, but that seems wild to me. Man, I mean, that is why you do this, because I would have never imagined London as the favorite. I mean, they did look good and they had a 2-0 week and everything, but they beat two relatively bad teams. And here's the thing with these like 3-2s is they're so close overall. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know. I almost consider like a 3-2 win a tie almost. Like, when you're playing DFS, at least like a 3-2 is pretty much a tie, because that means both teams and players had chances to perform well individually, and that's all you need. You can see really big DFS scores even in a 3-2, so that's why I don't look into these team prices that much. But the thing here is they 3-0'd the worst team in the league in Florida. They looked really good. I'll give them that. And then I did play them as the underdog against Texas. But there's a big difference between playing an underdog and playing them as a favorite. You guys would know if you follow any of my League of Legends content. That's kind of my motto with the Anyone's Legend roster. It feels pretty similar. Like London they have 3 young players who I think are learning and improving and playing together super well. I love London players and I love the team a lot. There's no doubting that. But I don't know. Playing them at that price just seems a little ludicrous to me. That's kind of it, to be honest. So I guess the point I was making was they 3-0'd Florida, the worst team in the league. Pretty good. But then they were down 2-0 to Optic Texas. Like, yeah, they got the reverse sweep and it looks good. But like that's a close game where they easily could have been 3-0'd, and this is a whole different thing. Like, if Optic win that third map and it's a 3-0 the other way as opposed to a reverse sweep, like, this is a very differently viewed series just based off of one map and one occurrence. So that's the same thing I think could be said for Minnesota. I think Seattle's probably like a top 2 team. I think it's between Seattle and Toronto as the top 2 teams. And Minnesota was literally 1 kill away from beating Seattle yesterday. I think they're going to be feeling themselves. I like this Minnesota team a lot here in this spot. We'll talk about players later, but I'm expecting a lot from this Minnesota team tomorrow. They're going to be pretty heavy in my player pool, I think. You could argue the same thing for the Minnesota reverse sweep over Texas. Like, maybe if they got 0-3, then it's a whole different story. I agree, but the thing is, when I'm taking into account how good Minnesota is, I'm kind of just ignoring that Optic series. Just mainly because it was their first series last week. They played once, and that was it. So we only have 1 game sample size from them at all. And yesterday, they had such a close series with a really good team. So, like, I'm just putting a lot of stock into yesterday more so than what happened last week, and it also happened once. You know, like, it's easy to say, like, maybe they came out slow in those first 2 games. They got the reverse sweep, but, you know, it's just tough there, so. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I view it. Like, maybe it sounds a little hypocritical to you guys, but that's just kind of my standpoint on it. So I'm riding with Minnesota heavily. I'm honestly super surprised by this line. Like, I feel like Minnesota has a lot more pedigree. They were super good last year. They were really coming into their own. They have a really close series with a really top team, and then they get underdog priced. That just seems super surprising to me. So yeah, Minnesota will be my favorite underdog for sure, unless there's something crazy else coming up, but it doesn't look like it. So we have Optic and Atlanta minus 500. Those seem a little crazy, but I kind of understand like the sentiment there. I feel like that Optic, paying minus 500 for an Optic team that's been 0-3'd or reverse swept twice. I don't know. There's like 2 ways you could spin that. You could say they're 1 game away from sweeping twice, or the fact that they kind of choked. You know, like, getting reverse swept twice in your only 2 series is a pretty diabolical thing to happen. But I don't foresee that happening against Paris. I'll probably be on Optic as one of my 3 teams. It's typically how I build and what I do. I do 3 lineups, and I just mix and match 3 teams across them all. And I'll probably have Optic pretty heavily in my player pool, matching up with the Minnesota boys. I think Optic make a statement here and a good comeback spot for them. Atlanta faced Boston Breach. Um, this is probably my stay away series. If I'm when I pick one, um, like I get the price. I understand FaZe are probably the good favorites here. I just think Boston maybe is a little underrated overall. I think if FaZe are a little overrated overall, I think this could be like a close series. And I just haven't seen a lot of huge individual skill from FaZe this game. Call of Duty Vanguard, that is. Like, I feel like they're still just getting a lot of like leeway in terms of poor play. Like, it seems like when Atlanta FaZe has poor performance, people will say it was just a bad day. But when Paris has a bad performance, you're just like, that's Paris. So it just feels like Atlanta have a lot of leash for making bad plays, and I'm just not quite believing in them to the extent that the odds makers are. Um, I think this is it can be pretty close. Let me just leave it at that. I wouldn't be surprised if FaZe won and they looked good. I just don't want to buy them there. I don't know what their pricing looks like. They're pretty expensive. Yeah, I don't know. I don't imagine they'll be too owned. Although Optic are the same price. LA Thieves are super cheap. I don't know where the ownership will land on Optic and Atlanta. I say this in every video, but ownership is not my forte. So I don't know. Maybe there's an argument where playing Atlanta is a decent shout just because maybe some leverage. But I don't know. I don't know how owned they'll be. So I'll take my shots with Paris or Optic. I think Optic just has like a little bit more upside. I feel. Although Atlanta are like right behind them, it's just I'm only playing 3 lineups. I play 3 teams. I'm just gonna draw the line and leave off the FaZe side. So that's where I'll be, and I say that because I really like the LA Thieves boys here as well. I feel like we've seen Florida get smoked in early on by London and Florida. The thing I should have brought this up. Team stats. Sorry, I should have been bringing up these team stats. That includes preseason and stuff earlier. But we have the LA Thieves here against the Florida Mutineers. And so we look at the maps and we see LA Thieves are 8-2 in hard points. Like, they're just killing it in these respawns. Florida's 4-3, but I feel like their wins are over these bad teams, LEG and Paris. LEG was different in the Kickoff Classic. They just weren't that great there. I don't know. I just have not seen much from Florida that gives me hope. And I feel like they get super frustrated early on, I think. And I think this is a pretty good sweep spot for LA Thieves. I feel like there's definitely a big case where LA Thieves win the first map, this first hard point, pretty handedly. Florida get down on themselves and it just kind of unravels. I feel like that's a pretty likely outcome, and I like LA Thieves for the sweep. I like them to win these respawn modes as well. Maybe they don't get the sweep. Their Search and Destroys are not looking great, but the point still stands. I think LA Thieves should get the job done pretty handily in these respawns. I should have brought up their team kill death ratios. It's not the greatest on the LA Thieves side. Like, they're 8-2 in hardpoint, but they're only a 1.03. That's not ideal, but I don't know. It still feels like they're doing well. So it's not ideal, but it you can't like pick all the spots there, and I still like them regardless of what the stats say. So. Let's see. I wanted to look at the other teams briefly. We can take a glance at FaZe Boston, although I'm still not loving it that much. So, yeah, not much sample size still. Only just the 3 series for both of them. I guess the hardpoint kill death ratio is pretty good there for a FaZe. I don't know. These teams seem pretty evenly matched. Like their scores are like exactly the same across the board, except for one more search and destroy from the or for the Boston side. So that's interesting, but yeah, I mean, I feel like these teams are pretty evenly matched, and I just don't want to buy any part of that really. So, look at the Paris, Texas boys. Looking at the kill ratios here. Hope the optic team isn't loading. This happened to me yesterday with Toronto. I wonder what that is. But I mean, they're 1-7 in hardpoint. That is really bad. I really wish the Optic Texas stats would load. Yeah, it's not showing up. But we know that they've been up 2-0 in every series, so that's at least 2 hardpoint wins. We know they've gone reverse swept in every series, so that's 2 hardpoint losses. That's 2 control losses. And that's 2 search wins, 2 search losses. So they've won 2 hardpoints, lost 2 hardpoints. They have lost 2 controls. They've won 2 searches, and they've won 2 searches. I don't know. I still feel like Texas maybe get the sweep here, and that it's a good spot for them. Either way, I wish I saw their stats, but we'll have to just kind of garner from their other stuff. And then Minnesota, London. I expect London to maybe have some inflated stats because they've been winning. Nope, it's still just clicking on random teams. So Minnesota team not loading again. This was happening to me yesterday. I don't know what that is, but again, super impressive stats for London boys. I still think there's a good case to play London players. Like, I don't necessarily see Minnesota sweeping it, so the London players can get there. There's no doubt about that. I wouldn't even blame you necessarily for going with the London boys. I just feel like maybe Minnesota's a little undervalued overall. Man, those stats are pretty one-sided, but you got to take your shots, and that's somewhere I'll go with. So, yeah, I'm going to go Minnesota 3-1. I think they make a statement here. I think Optic Texas make a statement as well and show that they are actually a decent team. And I think Optic get the 3-0. I think FaZe and Breach actually have a close game, one I want to stay of. I'll go with FaZe 3-2. And then I think LA Thieves are just much better than Florida in pretty much every aspect. So I'm going to go with LA 3-0. So the 3 teams I like, obviously I've talked about them. I like Minnesota players. I like the Optic players, and I like the LA Thieves players. If you guys want to check the player and team stats yourselves, it is breakingpoint.gg. The tabs are pretty obvious where you want to go, but I'm just going to look at the players I want to play, and we can try to get an idea of where we want to go from here. So we sort by, I'm going to add the preseason tournament here as well. And then we liked LA Thieves, we liked Texas, and then we liked Minnesota. So standing, Major Maniac, Kenny Octane, Shotzi Draza, Dashi. Looks like we want to avoid Priesta, Illy, and pretty much everyone else is on the table, so we can keep that in mind. So yeah, looking at the Minnesota boys, Standy, number 1 option for sure. Major Maniac is looking like a number 2 option. Is that Priesta and Attach both down there? Yeah, that's a little rough for them. I would say Attach is the 3rd option if you're triple stacking. Priesta just kind of has not looked good, I think, yet at all. So he would probably be the one I leave off. On the Optic side, I still think it's Shotzi and Dashi. Their stats would back that up, I believe. Yeah, Shotzi and Dashi are 1 and 2 on that team, and then it's Scump 3rd. I think it's definitely Shotzi and Dashi kind of interchangeably 1 and 2. I think they're definitive 1 and 2 though. And if you do get 2 with a 3 stack, I feel like it's a coin flip between Scump and Illy. Maybe if you need the extra money, you can go to Illy. I think that's fine, actually. The Scump has better numbers, but I feel like Illy's starting to grow a little bit. I think he's starting to get a hang of himself. I think maybe if we remove the preseason tournament, it might help Illy out a little bit. Nope, that makes it worse. So, that happens. Actually, I want to see where we're doing here just in this event. Illy down at the bottom. Dashi not doing great. I still think he's the better option, though. Shotzi. So we have Draza and Standy above everyone else. All right, so that's interesting. Again, it's attaching Priesta down here. Looks like, Dashi, it feels a little hard done to do Dashi down here. I still think he's a much better player than this, but his stats don't lie, so that's the point of them. So I guess you would have to just go Scump over Illy, although, again, I don't necessarily think you don't have to play Illy. Like, if you land on him if you have $7,800 and your last player, like, I don't think going Illy would kill your lineup, so that's where I stand there. No Boston Atlanta boys. Look at the LA Thieves side. The LA Thieves are actually super interesting because they're actually like all pretty good. Like Kenny did really well yesterday. I don't know if his stats are from yesterday are in this or not, but looks like Draza, Envoy, Octane, Kenny, like they all performed. Draza's super cheap. Kenny's cheap, Octane's cheap, Envoy's kind of pricey, but I don't know. It's tough to pick out names here. Like if maybe we add the preseason tournament, like they're all super close. These are all really individual skilled players. It doesn't feel like any of them necessarily play particularly bad that would incline that their stats aren't there. Like I said yesterday with here we can do this. So we can search Los Angeles Thieves and we can look at their previous matches. So we have, these are from last year. I keep forgetting this search thing doesn't work. So we go here, Los Angeles Thieves. And yeah, it doesn't have their stats from yesterday. So that's a little annoying. I guess we can do this. It will be here. I don't know why that wouldn't have updated, but so what we do is we can just look at what did it not show up? All right, so we can see just from their performances, Kenny just got smoked by the FaZe lineup. Draza did pretty well. And then over in their series yesterday, Kenny brought it back a lot. And then Draza did well again. Octane and Envoy seem pretty consistently like middling. So maybe that's what you can look at there. Again, Kenny's stats are hard done because I don't think his stats from yesterday are there, and he was really, really good yesterday. So, it's kind of anyone. Like, I'm not kidding. It's literally anybody on LA Thieves. I like Octane because he gets a lot of hardpoint hill time that adds up. I think it's Octane and Draza 1 and 2 for me. Kenny and Envoy both there. For me, Kenny's a lot cheaper, so maybe you want to lean that way. It's literally any 4 of these players. I think they can all do really well. It'll be like kind of a lottery to pick the good ones, so it's a little tough, but it is what it is. You can only play so many players, so that's where I'm going today. I'm gonna build around with those teams and those players, and hopefully we can make some money today. Yesterday, I think I didn't get a 0. I didn't donut. I think I min cashed with some lineups, but not all. So I think overall it was a losing day for me, but I didn't completely blank. So we made some money back. That, it's a nice thing to have. So hopefully we can bring it back. I've profited 2 slates. I donated 1 slate, and then I won tourneys 1 slate, profited another slate. Like I'm raking in Call of Duty this year. Hopefully we can continue that. Although maybe the last couple slates haven't been ideal, but can't win them all, and when we're playing the underdog like Minnesota, maybe that stuff happens. So, that'll be it for me today. Hopefully you guys can make some opinions of your own and build some good lineups. I do want to check the team slots. Everything looks normal. I just wanted to make sure. Yesterday, the Toronto team slot was mispriced, so I was wondering if they made that mistake again. It looks like they didn't, so everything is normal there. Team slots are still just pretty random. There is something you can do. Let's see if we can check. I know they played it in the New York series, so we can look at that one. So Tuscan Search and Destroy is the search and destroy map where bomb plants and diffuses happen a lot. One of the bomb sites is just super easy to access, so it seemed like the offense gets the bomb down pretty consistently on Tuscan. So if you guys want to really get into deep dive and research that, you can take a look at what teams are playing Tuscan and try to get their team slot for that one. If memory serves, I think Seattle actually had like 60 team slot points yesterday. I wonder if they played Tuscan as well. I think they did. Yeah, they played Berlin and Tuscan as well. So Seattle managed to farm team slot points. They ended up with 60, I believe, and which is a lot for the team slot. You're usually hoping for like 40, and they 50% off more than that even. So team slot's pretty random, but maybe you want to aim for those Tuscan teams. It's kind of the only thing I have for that slot as well, just team correlation and that kind of thing. So that'll be it for me today. Best luck to you guys. No Call of Duty tomorrow, just a 2-gamer, because don't know why. I don't know why they would have a 2-gamer. If they wanted to avoid the Super Bowl, then they should have just not played Sunday at all. I don't know what they're doing, but 2-gamer Sunday, so no Call of Duty slate for me. And I'll see you guys next week with some more Call of action. I love Call of Duty DFS. I'm not sure what it is or why or what makes it so intriguing, but I'm just super fascinated and love watching the games and love getting the sweat on and really enjoying these slates. So best luck to you guys. I know I've said where my money's going. Hopefully you guys follow and can make some money as well. Thank you.